The Ukrainians have once again managed to destroy several planes on the ground, while the first new Abrams main battle tanks are in the process of arriving. But we'll talk about this as well as about anything else that has happened along the front lines and behind them in this situation report about the war in Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia conducted the seventh exchange of prisoners of war since the last Istanbul negotiations. Ukraine hit the Atlant Aero factory in Taganrog. It is producing parts for drones and for electronic warfare. The Ukrainians also report that they managed to destroy two Sukhoi 34 in Marinivka. In Marinivka, that's in Volgograd. The SBU is reporting 2. The special forces are saying 4 of the Sukhoi 34 have been destroyed. Which of the 2, I cannot say, but we do have Fighter Bomber, the Russian mill blogger that is well connected in the Air Force. He is confirming the attack and he's confirming the losses, but we do not have exact numbers, so it's probably somewhere in between. Other claims are 2 destroyed, 2 damaged. Then we have the SBU saying that they attacked the Kirovsky airfield on the Crimean Peninsula and managed to destroy 1 Pantsir air defense system as well as 3 helicopters, a Mi-8 and a Mi-26, both transport helicopters, as well as a Mi-8 and Mi-26 are the transport helicopters, and the Mi-28 is an attack helicopter. While this is not confirmed, we do have the FIRMS satellite showing massive fires around the area, so something very likely was hit there. Let's switch to the developments along the front line, and here we start off in Sumy. The Russians have advanced close to Oleksivka. Here we have the geolocation directly south of it, and we have it directly east of it. So the Russians have reached this point here, and the other one is, this point here. Overall, no confirmation though whether they managed to gain a foothold and permanently extend their foothold. We have the Ukrainian commander-in-chief saying that the Russian offensive towards Sumy is stopped. We'll have to see, but as of now we see that the Russians are not advancing much anymore. We switch to the Kharkiv region, and here we have reports as well. The Ukrainians are saying the Russians are using mothership drones that basically fly behind the front lines and then drop FPV drones to attack targets there, where the Ukrainians do no longer have electronic warfare, as it's obviously the electronic warfare against FPV drones is concentrated along the front lines, not 20 kilometers behind them. And here is where the Russians are using mothership drones. We've seen the Ukrainians start using them months ago, and now we know that the Russians have commenced the usage as well. Then we switch to the Eastern Front, and here we have the Russians advancing a little bit north here. We have them in the town of Lushkivka. This is geolocated here at this point. So the Russians have reached this here, meaning they managed to advance a couple of 100 meters, like 600 meters more or less, towards the north from their last confirmed front line. It's not a confirmation that they've taken all of the area, but it seems likely that the town of Koslynivka is probably Kolisnikivka, that it's likely now in Russian hands. According to the Ukrainians, the Russians are only attacking with small groups of 1 to 3 men in the Kupiansk region, where we are here, and they are still trying to bridge the Oskil, according to the Ukrainians, but are still failing according to this. Then further south, the Ukrainians have advanced. We have a confirmation from a Russian mill blogger saying that the Ukrainians managed to push the Russians out of half of Ridkodub. This is here, confirming that the Ukrainians were successful in this area. That's it north of the Seversky Donetsk. In the Seversk region, I do not have any change in territory. South of the Seversk region, in the direction of Konstantinivka, we have a couple of changes. The Russians have advanced in Delivka. We have them here in the northern part of Delivka. So they have reached roughly unto here. This confirms that the Russians are advancing. We recently had geolocations roughly in these areas too, so probably more or less this is a contested area as of now. Further to the west, the Russians have advanced in the area north of the mine here. We have a geolocation here. When we zoom in, we see that there are trench works by the Ukrainians close to this area, and recently the Russians have operated in this area. Now they have advanced further west, so it seems that this area is definitely a contested area. To which degree it is already under Russian control is obviously not sure. As the soldier is advancing towards the west, it would indicate that the fortifications here should be under Russian control, or at least no longer under Ukrainian control. All of this indicates that the contested area is probably more or less like this, and all of this here is probably at the very least contested, if not in part under Russian control. According to a Ukrainian spokesperson, the gray zone is massively extended in this region because of the usage of fiber optic drones that forces both sides to go back. And the Russians use drones to supply troops in frontline positions. Another explanation, while often we have geolocations far behind enemy lines because they simply keep getting supplied by drones and are not wiped out by the opposing force. That's something we see in this region in particular. Further to the west, the Russians have advanced further north from Malinivka. We have geolocations here that the Russians are now southwest of Popiv Yar and close to Popiv Yar. So on the map, this is this here and roughly this here, as it's already more or less on the deep state map. It shows the Russians keep advancing, pushing northwest from the breakthrough, the tactical breakthrough they had here north of Ocheretine. Further to the west, the Russians have advanced further north in Shevchenko, or close to Shevchenko. We have geolocation of this as well. Here we have them in these tree lines, the last trees before Pokrovsk itself. This is here. This is now probably contested, if not even under Russian control. The Russians have, according to the Ukrainian commander-in-chief Syrsky, 111,000 men now concentrated in the Pokrovsk region, to give an overview of the Russian strength there. In the Novopavlivka region here, we have the Russians advancing north of Andrivka. This is here. In this direction. Now, Andrivka is here, and we have the Russians advancing to this. This should be on the map in this direction here, more or less. So they keep pushing in this contested area, this bulge here. Further to the west, the Russians have likely taken the town of Sirka. I have geolocation of this as well, where we have them in the northern part and in the southern part, and I have one. I had another one a little further south here, which would indicate that the majority of Sirka, or probably all of Sirka, is now under Russian control, or at the least that the Ukrainians have been pushed out of there. That was it from this region. From the Zaporizhzhia region, we have one more report here from Mala Tokmachka, which is up here. Here the Russians have once again managed to enter the town. We had them do that a while ago with a mechanized push, where later they were pushed back. Now we have Russian presence inside of Mala Tokmachka. Once again, this should be at this point here, which would indicate an advance of roughly 2.5 to 3 kilometers to the west. But then again, we do not know whether they managed to consolidate there. Overall, that's it with the changes in territory. The situation hasn't changed much. The Russians keep advancing, but their speed has clearly slowed. They have one area where they are successful. This is more or less this. And the successes even in this area have slowed down significantly. Anywhere else, if they have an advance, it's once a week and it's 100 meters or something. So mostly the Russian offensive has stalled, at least for the moment. Then we have the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. They have confirmed that the Russians have used chemical weapons in Ukraine. This is being reported by Ukraine for years now, and there were occasional videos showing drone drops of hand grenades that were emitting gas. So the Russians at times even gave evidence themselves, but now we have the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons confirming this as well. Then we have an interesting video from the Serebryansky forest, and there you can see the usage of fiber optic drones, that the whole forest is basically covered, to give an impression of how much the Russians are now using fiber optic drones. It's breathtaking, the volume of those drones that the Russians have started using. In troop generation, the Russians are increasing their missile production further. The Volkinsk factory has hired 2,500 workers. The production facilities are being extended and machines have been imported from abroad. This factory is producing Iskander-M, that's the ballistic missile, Iskander-K, that's the cruise missile, and they are producing Yars and Bulava ICBMs there. The Iskander-M production has now reached a number of roughly 2 per day, according to GUR estimates recently. So 2 of those, this is an Iskander-M, 2 of those missiles are being produced now per day by the Russians. Then we have reports that the North Koreans are probably going to send 25,000 workers for production of Shahid drones in Russia. This would obviously mean a potential to significantly increase the production capacity of Russia, and at the same time work as a technology transfer for the North Koreans so they can build up their own stockpile on the Korean peninsula as well. South Korea thinks that Russia will receive reinforcement from North Korea in July or in August, and that this time the North Korean troops will be used inside of Ukraine itself, so help the Russian offensive activities against Ukraine. Previously, we could claim that it was only to help Russia push out an invader, which technically Ukraine was in Kursk. Now it seems that the North Koreans are getting fully involved in the war. The effect of this attack is simply not possible to estimate as of now, because it will massively depend on the numbers and on the equipment. Do the North Koreans send mechanized battalions, mechanized brigades that come with their own artillery, their own tanks, their own IFVs, and to try to do breakthrough operations? Or is it small groups that are interwoven with Russian units to gain experience and thus spread the knowledge of this kind of warfare in North Korea? This is too early to properly say that, but the South Koreans believe that North Korean soldiers will soon help. This might be a big problem for Ukraine, or it might be a minor, obviously, depending on the equipment and the numbers. North Korea, in return, is receiving missile aid with missile technology and satellites from the Russians, so for them it's absolutely worth it. Then we have reports that Shahid now are using thermal vision as well. The guess is that they could be used for attacks on heated areas, on heated targets, like for instance generators that produce a lot of heat. But if we combine this with other informations which we have here, that the Russians have started using Shahid with radio control, this so they can remotely control them and change targets. This would theoretically allow to strike air defense teams as well. As we know, the majority of the Shahid drones is being taken down by small teams. That's a pickup with a heavy machine gun on top or something like this. If the Russians want to, they might be able to start hunting those teams down as well if they have remote control from the and thermal vision, as the operations are at night. The Russian mill blogger Riba is saying that the Gerbera, which is a cheap version of the Shahid, can also attack moving targets. So this is making it much more likely that the Russians might start trying to take down the Ukrainian air defense teams that are fighting the drones, and thus in the past had success rates of over 95%. Those success rates have dropped down to something between 80 and 85% recently, but still the majority of drones is still taken down. down, and fighting the air defense teams might be the Russian way to address this. Then we have the Russian Duma legalizing the recruitment of stateless persons and of foreigners, obviously also to allow for an increase of recruitment. And in international aid or in politics, we have some news. So Trump thinks it's possible that Putin has plans that extend over Ukraine in territorial ambitions. Now, obviously, the majority that watch this war might say, duh, but I guess it's good to hear that acknowledgement from Trump, who previously said he trusts Putin, things like this. So to see that some doubt is creeping in is probably a good development. And according to Dmitry Medvedev, the former president and now secretary of the Security Council, Brussels today is a real enemy of Russia. So according to him, the European Union is now an enemy of Russia as well. Russia will also train 600 Chinese soldiers to fight NATO. According to their experiences in Ukraine. From what I see in this article, in the Kiev Post, there is no claim that those Chinese soldiers will enter combat against the Ukrainians. It's more that those 600 soldiers are being sent from China to then enter training grounds in Russia to learn from the Russian experiences that where the Russians have faced NATO equipment. In international support, we have something interesting. Trump says he may send additional Patriot systems to Ukraine. This is being contemplated for a while now, but now in this, he's quoted, "We are going to see if we can make some available." So, as usual, don't look at what he says, look at what he does. So we'll have to see if more is going to come. International aid is coming, though, from other sources. Ukraine and Denmark have agreed to produce Ukrainian weapons in Denmark together. The United Kingdom is providing another 350 ASRAAM short-range air-to-air missiles that are being paid for with the interests from the frozen Russian assets. They are being used in the Raven air defense system, which we see here. This is an ad hoc construction just for the war in Ukraine to use available air-to-air missiles for ground-to-air, for surface-to-air fights. The Ukrainians have already a couple of these systems. They are now going to receive 5 more, which in total will add up to 13 of these systems. And finally, we have pictures from Poland, and Abrams tanks have popped up there, and as we can see, the camouflage is identical to the Ukrainian one, to the Australian one. So it was reported a few weeks ago that the Australian Abrams are now on their way to Ukraine. We now have confirmation that at least a part of them have arrived in Poland to be shipped towards Ukraine. And that was it for today's SITREP. Before I finish, I just want to quickly thank the generous donation once again from Sam Garcia for Eagles of Destiny, the book that he sent me, Birth and Growth of the Royal Pakistani Air Force. Thank you so much, Sam Garcia, once again. And I want to thank Colin from New York, USA. Thank you so much for your kind words and your support as well. Colin sent me Pakistan Courting the Abyss. Thank you so much. Both of them were from my wish list in the description. So if you want to send me a book as well, you can do so there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. If you're new here, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. And if you have something to add, use the comment section. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means there. And that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.